Thank you. We are ready, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate my first opportunity to be before the Budget Committee as captain. My name is Captain McDonald, and I'm the Director of Community Corrections. Sitting next to me is Nora Jones. She does the budget for Community Corrections. And you've already know the Sheriff and Chief Deputy Jenna Morrison, the previous Director of Community Corrections. So I will expedite this piece of it. There we go. A couple things I do want to focus on and really just talk about kind of some stats and some services that we delivered in 2018. Really focusing on the mission of community corrections. You know, it is one of those areas of the criminal justice system a lot of people don't know about unless they experience it personally or have family experience it. But really our goal is providing that supervision, resources, interventions, treatment, and victim services to justice-involved individuals and crime victims. And the goal there is so they can experience and contribute to a safe community. Kind of what that looks like over a year for community corrections. In 2018, we provided community supervision for over 3,400 individuals on probation or post-prison supervision. We provided transitional housing to over 308 individuals releasing from custody who otherwise would have been homeless in the community. The majority of these individuals were releasing from prison to the community and had no place to go. Community corrections has a dramatic impact on homelessness in the community and ensuring those highest risk individuals that may cause the most damage to the community have a place to go and be successful. Our transitional housing is supportive housing with mentor services and engagement in the recovery community. We provide mental health stabilization. So we're really looking at individuals who are on supervision that have a high acuity of mental health, require a great deal of care, who are at risk to hospitalization, incarceration, or homelessness. In 2018, we provided those services to 62 men and women. The Transition Center in 2018 had contact with over 3,800 individuals over that year. The majority of those individuals came directly across the street from the jail and had the ability to receive services from a simple bus ticket to get home, to treatment, to housing, to engagement with a mentor and in the recovery community or mental health services and employment services. Pretrial supervision. We provided pretrial supervision in 2018 to over 825 individuals, and we assessed over 1,800 individuals prior to their arraignment. Our community service program, who provides the ability for those that are sentenced to community service or sanctioned to community service, conducted over 4,200 hours of community service in the community of Clackamas County, providing a benefit to many of our municipalities directly who we contract with to provide services at a reduced cost, doing basic landscaping, weed eating, clearing type services. What's that? Okay, 42,000 hours. Correct, thank you. And one of our most important programs is our residential services programs, the Clackamas Substance Abuse Program, CSAP. As many of you know and have had the opportunity to visit, we have an 80-bed men's facility and a 34-bed women's facility. 50 of those beds for men are dedicated treatment beds, and 34 of the women's beds are dedicated treatment beds for CSAP. We also provide housing for short-term transitional leave, individuals who are eligible for up to 120 days leave from prison, providing the state a huge cost savings and reduction in prison utilization. All right, we'll go on. As far as our general fund balance, stays the same. 24% of our budget is general fund. The remaining is fines, fees, and state funding. We were fortunate enough not to be asked to reduce our general fund budget. I think I said 24%, 26% of our budget is general fund. So in 2018, we submitted our MFR plan, which was approved. We strategically, prior to having it approved, we're attempting to hire a policy analyst. It took us until the end of 2018 to hire that policy analyst. Immediately, one of the first things that she did was dive into MFR, look at our plan, to ensure that we could show realistic results and that the targets we had, and develop a data collection strategy for us. In the coming year, we hope to have more details of our results, but we wanted to replicate what we did last year. Our results continue to be positive in some of those core areas of our employment, participation in treatment, and housing and mentor services. One of the big areas that I want the budget committee to be aware of is our transition center is funded by carryover. We came to the budget committee last year with hoping that we'd come back this year with some additional funding strategies. At this point, we do not have funding strategies other than our carryover. We talk a little bit about justice reinvestment. I did learn today that it was fully funded, so we hope to continue to be apply for justice reinvestment, which funds a portion of expanded treatment services and our pretrial supervision program. On revenue trends, if you all are not aware, our state budget that we receive 74% of our budget is decided biannually. This is the biennium. My budget sits in the hands of our legislators in Salem. The governor's recommended budget is a cut in services to us. Generally speaking, in our past experience, that is not what Salem has went with. But it is a risk. We also could have the opportunity to have additional money or stay stable. So there's a wide spectrum of results that could happen. We hope by the end of June we have an answer to that. One other key area. The state funds individuals who are placed on felony probation and post-prison supervision and misdemeanor PCS. Since 2014, we've seen a downward trend of individuals on supervision for those types of cases, which is a reduction in funding to us, but is also a positive for Clackamas County. To give you an example of two counties that are smaller than us by population, Marion and Lane each have over 1,000 more individuals on funded supervision than we do. Wow. And I give credit to the work that we do in Clackamas County for that. And I'll give credit to the juvenile department also. If they can work with individuals prior and help them be successful, then they do not become a customer of ours. We have seen a slight uptick in misdemeanor probation. So to general fund, one of the big funding areas is misdemeanor supervision in Clackamas County. Those are domestic violence crimes that we supervise, misdemeanor sex offense crimes that we supervise, and DUI. We're one of the few counties in the state that continue to offer some level of DUI monitoring. So about 800 to 1,000 individuals at any one time on just for misdemeanor supervision. All right. Questions?
We have several people who want to ask you a question or make a comment. I'd like to make one first. I think a lot of folks in this room know, and I think all of you do, that I have a family member that's experienced many of your services, and I can tell you that she's become a model for how to remove yourself from the influences that would cause a person to end up back in the prison or jail system. And it's because of the probation department and the transition center. And because of the care that the folks who man those have provided for her and many, many other people that she's in association with, she's now a full-time college student, and she's decided that her profession, sorry, it always makes me do this, her profession in the future is going to be in drug and alcohol counseling. She follows her mother in those steps. And so through the help that she's been able to receive, she's being able to go to college to, have the supplies she needs and everything else. So Transition Center is extremely important. I haven't had the opportunity to tour CPAC yet, but I will be there next week. So I'm looking forward to that. And granddaughter is going with me so that she can get more firsthand experience in how to help her fellow people. So thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
So I also wanted to compliment on the CSAP program. If there's any call I ever get about the sheriff that is complimentary, is the CSAP program. I've gone to many of those graduations. Really great program, and congratulations. And for Chris Hoy, I only brought up him because I know him. And see, he and I served on the Community Corrections Commission, which, I don't even know if I'm still on it, but they don't have meetings anymore.
They don't call you.
Because we would determine who got the grants. But we haven't had a meeting in quite some time. I'm still not sure if I'm on it. It's what Ken mentioned something one day, which I think is important. And you mentioned there are smaller counties that actually have more people on supervision. What's the caseload of an average probation officer? I'm afraid to say probation and parole because I'm not sure which.
On average, we're going to go to about the 60 to 65. Some of our specialty caseloads. So for medium to high risk individuals, which the majority of our resources go to, some of our specialized caseloads are a little bit less. When we talk about the supervision of sex offenders in the community, we try to reduce their numbers, but on average, that's 65.
I think Ken said 600 at one point.
Yeah, we had banked caseloads of 600. It's just paper pushing. That's all it is. You can't do service at all.
No, you can't.
Amazing.
Even with 65.
It's pretty tough at 65, but you've got you at least have some opportunity to work with people directly, but 600 you don't.
So I think the advantage in Clackamas County is the ability to surround them with services. And we look at our mentoring services, the contracts we have with Bridges to Change, the Transition Center. So it's a team, and residential services. They're an amazing bunch of individuals that work for me, that work with a very challenging population. And every time we can hear about a success, that's an amazing opportunity to hear and see where they go. I have individuals I've worked with when I was a PO many, many years ago, who work for our contractors now doing amazing work due to the services they received here.
Yeah.
And we're constantly looking for ways and how we can improve and be more efficient and provide the best services we can and evolve. It's a change. We have to continue to change and look at research, look at evidence-based practices, and look for new ways to do the services we have better and more efficient.
Yeah, I just want to compliment you on the CSAP program and the work you do, and I'm happy to hear the caseload is not 600. And one thing we did do when we were on the Community Corrections Commission is when there was a cut, we actually testified in opposition to the cut, and that might be why we don't have meetings.
It could do it.
I don't know, but thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. Ms. Caldwell and then Commissioner Savas.
Thank you. Jan and I actually went on a tour of CSAP last week or the week before. It was really interesting and thank you so much for the amount of time that you spent and that your residents spent with us. It was very informative and very interesting. I would like to make a comment on your key performance measures and results. And I'm wondering if it would be possible for you to go the next step. So you're talking about completion rates, graduation rates. Could we see what impact that has on recidivism rates
I was
or
wondering about that.
some
Yeah.
other kind of community impact that you could tie to these? I don't know whether it would be other places in the country where they don't offer these programs, or whether it's the way it used to be, so that we could see the effect that these programs are actually having.
Yes, our strategic plan specifically identifies areas. We knew going into our strategic plan that there were some obstacles to get the data we needed. Most of the data that we're relying comes directly from the state. The advantage of being able to hire a performance policy and research analyst is allowed us and to really key in and how to get that data and measure it, and looking at individuals, how they do a year after. We really want to focus on key components also, in that when they leave supervision, that they have a living wage job. When they leave our treatment programs, a key focus so they're sustainable in the long term, that we're not just providing them services and then letting them go on their way, that we're providing them with services that will allow them to be successful in the long term.
Thank you.
So one program that we do track that pretty regularly is our CSAP program, and I think you have that stat in there. But for example, one of our recent counts was for the women who have graduated our CSAP program. 1 year later, they have a 100% success rate. That means no arrests, and that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
And for our men,
84%.
84%.
That's fabulous. Multnomah County used to have a measure in their family services program for zero number of drug-addicted babies being born in the program. So that was a good goal.
Wow. Commissioner Savas, and then Commissioner Bernard.
On your handout, the three items you have listed there as far as performance measures and results, I'm having a hard time, I understand the last one pretty clear, but the word increase, as opposed to just employment rates for offenders on supervision, but it says increase, so increase from what baseline?
That is a good question.
When's he talking?
In reality, those are the employment rates. So going back, our goal is for those to go up.
Okay, so it actually is an
Yeah.
increase in the rate, it's not the actual rate.
No, correction, it is the actual rate of employment, if I'm correct. But I can get an answer and double check that
Okay.
and get back to you.
And same question for the second one. Rate of participation says increased rate of participation. Is that the rate of participation or the increase?
The
in
goal
rate?
is to increase it. So, and the goal is to increase employment rates. So these, if I'm correct,
Where's our statistician?
increase it to that number. Sorry, I had to refer to my policy now. So the goal for the estimated is that we increase it to that number of 60% from the 57.3. So these are our employment rates, and this is the rate of participation in treatment.
Okay, is it possible to actually get numbers for these as opposed to percentages? Like actual participation, people that go into employment,
I can look into that, yes.
okay? And how about numbers of people that actually number one, number of people who go through corrections, your actual flow of unique visitors that go through, guests, and also go through CSAP in the transition center. You mentioned how many people are eligible to go through earlier.
So the transition center numbers that I gave you were individual, or the people that visited. So over 3,800 over the year. So about 300 on average individuals walk into that building daily or monthly. Excuse me.
Okay, so when you say walk in, is that, I mean, how do you actually gauge people in transitioning into, as opposed to walking in the center, actually transitioning successfully into employment?
So the transition center is really that warm handoff or connection to the services. When they're released from the jail, so how do we have individuals outside and walk them over. We may entice them with things like a lighter, and they learn these things. And so it's up to them if they want to engage. My staff will engage with them, assess if they have particular needs and what those needs are, and offer them. There's a wide array of services they may be eligible to. We can't force them to take these services. These are individuals some are on community supervision, some are not. Some are just individuals who are justice involved, and they may be on community supervision in another county. So really, we create that opportunity. If they want to change or engage, or they want a service, it's there for them. We also break up that, in the past, individuals get out of jail. You may have someone that's getting out of jail for, a felony, someone who just got arrested on DUI, and a bunch of other crimes. Maybe this guy on DUI, never been involved in the system, but has no way to get home, and the higher risk person does. That creates additional crimes. They may look for ways to get home because they don't have the resources. We create an intervention. We create an opportunity that if they don't have a way to come home or get home, we can provide them with assistance with transportation. Or they walk in and find that they can get ID. We can help them, so breaking those barriers down. But
Okay. I just think that as we look at performance clackamas, MFR, that those kind of measures as far as what they utilize, whether it's a bus ticket or whatever it may be, even if it's a lighter.
Yeah.
But I think that would be helpful in knowing and measuring the success to see what actually works. And, walking people in there is valuable because, number one, they're exposed to it. But if they walk right on out, I don't think unless you do long-term tracking, whether that's really a success, and especially if it's gauged by unique visits. Last question. We did not get funding for the justice reinvestment this round, right?
no, we did.
It says apply.
That's for the coming up. So this year in July, we will apply for justice reinvestment again, which to continue to fund pretrial supervision and our expanded CSEP that it funded last year.
Okay, so when I went on the website, maybe it's a year off or so, when I went on the website, the state website, we did not win that grant, at least one of those years that was on the state website.
Every year.
Every year.
Yeah, the first year was minimal. I think that was.
There's two levels of grants, right?
No.
Of funding?
There's the JRI and then the
I used to be on that committee too.
supplemental.
A lot of people have quit calling you, haven't they?
So the basic justice reinvestment we have gotten every year that we've applied for it. The first year we opened the transition center, or the first biennium we opened the transition center, and then the next biennium we opened pretrial. There's additional money
Right.
that we've not even applied for.
Ever?
No.
Okay,
And because it takes a village, and not all the members of the village want to participate.
right. And there needs to be a certain amount of success in order to actually to win the award.
There has to be a commitment to reduce prison beds.
That's right.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you.
I-
Commissioner
I-
Bernard
and
and Humberson.
I know this department isn't under you, but Community Connections, I know that you guys partner, and they work, and I think that partnership's great. And I'm probably going to ask them if they actually report by themselves, because Maureen's gone, so she retired. I don't know if that'll be separate, but I think that partnership is great, and that might. This says employees under people who are working while under supervision. What happens when they're off supervision? What's the rate of employment? And that would be of interest to me.
Yeah, and that's a measurement that we put in our strategic plan also to look at a year later.
Great, thank you.
Good, very good. Commissioner Humberson, you have the last question, sir?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I spent 5 years running an education center in a minimum security institution, and of the people who got either a high school education or a GED, tracking them, our statistics showed a significantly lower recidivism rate than the general population. And of the ones that we were able to warm hand off to the local community college, which was a program that we established, we found an even lower recidivism rate. So if you maintain those statistics, they will be very useful in convincing the state and anybody else that you need to convince that funding is appropriate. You will find that that's the case.
And part of the Transition Center has partnered with the community college, and we offer GED services. And
There you
we
go.
have graduated more individuals on with a GED than the college itself did at their on-site location.
Yep.
And we have a program at Residential Services called Foundations, where we're focusing on cognitively their employment skills, but also education. We put a lot of time, even through CSAP, ensuring individuals have the opportunity to get their GED or go beyond to college. And we do have a graduate from CSAP who now is working on their master's. So
Cool. Very good.
But the numbers, as well as the anecdotal evidence, make a big difference when you're talking to the state legislators.
Will the Parks, I just said one closing comment, if I could.
Absolutely, sir.
First and foremost, I want to commend you personally for being a leader, a role model, and an amazing grandparent that is supportive. You've done an amazing job being there when a lot of people aren't.
Yeah. Takes a
So-
village, you know
and
that.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to thank you for that. I also really want to talk about that program just a little bit more, and that it is really a program that we all should be proud of. And the reason is because a lot of the issues that people come to us have had issues for years. And as we look at other programs out there, we actually oftentimes refer to them as spin dry programs. We know we're not going to address this overnight, that it's going to take some time, and the longer we have people in clean and sober living, living with people that are supportive and clean and sober, our success rate also goes up. But I think as we look at it, it's a holistic approach, and this is where the future is for keeping our communities safe. It really is, and I think it's focusing on the addiction issues and understanding what those are. It's the mental health. And it's housing and jobs. And one of the key things that we're not talking about a minimum wage job. We want these people to be successful. And as you know, we had a young lady talk at the CSAP program the other day, and she's getting to be an electrician. And she
Good for
failed the
her.
test twice. She didn't score high enough, and the CSAP staff and their folks are working with her to study, to prepare, to get her that career job so that she can be successful. And so it is looking at that holistic approach and having a long-term plan. So again, my kudos to the entire staff at Community Corrections. I can't say thanks enough. And also want to turn around and say thanks to our entire staff that have really worked hard. They take the budget seriously. And a lot of times they're coming forward with ideas about being more cost effective. We know that that's a responsibility of all of us. So again, thank you. Thank you everybody for your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, thanks to everyone. So great presentation. Thanks for being here.